Hello, beloved family of faith. Today's message speaks directly to the heart of your journey as one of God's chosen. Have you ever paused to reflect on how far you've come? You've stepped away from relationships that no longer served your divine purpose, be it with lovers, family, or friends. And while you may have hoped for understanding or even support, you found instead that your newfound freedom often sparks envy. Why is it that the very liberation God has granted you can make others so uncomfortable? Let me first take a moment to express my deepest gratitude to each of you. Your unwavering support through likes, shares, comments, and especially your generous super thanks is a reflection of your heart for this ministry. Every contribution helps us continue spreading messages of hope and truth. To those of you who've already sown into this mission, thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you feel moved, I invite you to comment 777 below as a symbol of the spiritual freedom you are claiming today. Now let's reflect on this question. Why does your freedom in Christ, which should inspire joy, instead provoke envy and discomfort in those around you? Could it be that your bold steps of faith have become a mirror, exposing their own fears and insecurities? Stick with me, because we're about to uncover powerful truths that will not only help you understand this, but also strengthen your walk with God. Are you ready? Let's dive in and see how your story fits into God's greater plan. God's chosen ones, you got away from lovers, family, and friends. Your freedom inspires their envy. Chosen ones, what you've done isn't just a simple departure, it's a powerful declaration of freedom and transformation. You're not merely the one who got away, you're the one who broke free from all the limitations that others sought to impose upon you. You leveled up in a way that none of them saw coming, and you didn't just rewrite your script, you wrote a whole new story. From lovers who doubted your worth, to family who overlooked your potential, and friends who tried to keep you in places that no longer served you. Your freedom is far more than just an escape. It's a revolution, a dramatic shift that rattles the very foundations they once built their control and comfort upon. Think about it for a moment. When you walked away, you shattered illusions that others had relied on for years. They thought they had you figured out. They believed you were a fixed point in their lives, someone they could manipulate or rely on. An endless source to keep them comfortable in their own limited understanding of life. How often did they try to keep you small, to hold you back, or to keep you tethered to their way of thinking? Did they ever really believe you would break free? It's the same illusion that Pharaoh had about the Israelites. He thought they were forever bound by the chains of Egypt, unable to escape. But in the same way Moses led them out, your liberation was a profound and unstoppable force, one that caused everything they thought they knew about you to crumble. As you move forward, they saw something in you they couldn't replicate. Your light, your strength, and your courage to walk away became something they couldn't ignore. It wasn't just your physical absence that rattled them. It was your newfound energy, the power that radiated from your decision to break free. Have you ever wondered why they feel threatened by your growth? Why your success becomes a challenge to them? Perhaps it's because, deep down, they know that the person you've become is a reflection of what they could have been if they had dared to live as authentically as you now do. Your freedom is not just about you anymore, it's about the legacy you're building. You didn't just leave a relationship, a home, or a friendship. You collapsed an entire structure they had been using to define themselves and their reality. It's as if they had constructed a house of cards, believing it would stand strong forever. But the moment you stepped away, the whole thing fell apart. The strength you gained through your journey and your willingness to let go has shown them that their hold over you was never as strong as they thought. Can you imagine how powerful that must feel? To know that your life, your choices, and your freedom have caused others to reconsider their control. In many ways, this story mirrors the journey of the Israelites who, when they were freed from Egypt, became a beacon of hope and strength. The world around them had been expecting them to remain in slavery, but once they stepped into their freedom, they became an inspiration to many. Your story, your rise from the ashes of doubt and limitation, is just as powerful. And while they may try to imitate your light, the truth is, they can never replicate the freedom you've claimed for yourself. So, chosen ones, why do you think it is that your freedom causes so much discomfort in others? Is it because they see what they could never accomplish, or is it because deep down they realize your escape is a reminder of their own missed opportunities? The world may never truly understand the depths of your journey, but it's undeniable that your light shines brighter than ever, and your freedom will continue to inspire others to break free from the chains they've allowed to bind them. What if this is the moment that changes everything, not just for you, but for the world around you? Chosen ones, what you've done isn't just a simple departure, it's a declaration of freedom and transformation that reverberates beyond your life. You didn't merely get away, you broke free from every chain that tried to bind you. You leveled up, stepping into a higher realm of existence, and your escape wasn't just a moment, it was a revolution. Have you ever wondered what it truly means to be set free by God? Remember when Jesus said in John 8:36, "If the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed." Your freedom isn't just a release. It's a divine liberation that shatters the structures others tried to build around you. How does it feel to know that the freedom you've claimed is a divine gift, unshakable and eternal? From lovers who doubted your worth to family who tried to box you in, and friends who only saw you as their anchor, your departure sent shockwaves through their lives. They believed they could control you, manipulate you, and guilt-trip you into staying, tethering you with love, loyalty, and history. But did they ever truly see the power of your heart, the strength of your spirit? As Proverbs 4:7 says, "The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom. Though it cost all you have, get understanding." When you sought wisdom, when you saw through their games and felt the weight of their control, you chose yourself. And when you chose yourself, did you realize you were not only freeing yourself, but also dismantling the very structure they built around you? That choice wasn't just an escape, it was the collapse of everything they thought they knew about you. Remember the Israelites' journey as they escaped from Egypt? Pharaoh thought he could keep them enslaved forever, much like how those around you believed you would remain in their control. But when God led them out, He gave them the courage to walk away, and their freedom became a testimony of His divine power. Exodus 3:8 tells us, "I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey." Can you see the parallels between their journey and your own? You didn't just walk away from something, you walked towards something greater, something divinely appointed. Without you, their house of cards began to fall. They relied on your loyalty, your presence, and your strength to maintain the facade they had created. But when you stepped away, the foundation crumbled. Psalm 127:1 states, "Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain." Why do you think their control was so easily shattered the moment you decided to choose yourself? Was it because their foundation was built on manipulation and dependence rather than truth and trust? Their reactions were chaotic as they alternated between disbelief, anger, and confusion. Have you ever seen someone struggle to accept the truth, even when it's staring them in the face? For some, your absence forced them to see their own weakness. The truth that they were manipulators, users, people who thrived on dependency. They didn't realize they were relying on you for their own survival. Have you ever stopped to consider how much power they gave you without even realizing it? Matthew 7:24-27 speaks of the wise and foolish builders. The wise builder builds on the rock, and when the storm comes, the house stands firm. The foolish builder builds on sand, and when the storm comes, it collapses. Your choice to leave was like the storm that exposed the fragility of their false security. For others, your absence sparked resentment and envy. They couldn't comprehend how you escaped the chains they had so carefully polished. How did you break free from the chains they believed were indestructible? Psalm 34:19 reminds us, "The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all." Your escape wasn't just about leaving, it was about divine deliverance. Do you see now that your freedom was part of God's greater plan? That the chains that once held you were never as strong as the power of His deliverance? For some, your departure inspired a hollow imitation. They tried to replicate your strength, your courage, and your independence. But can they truly imitate what God has placed inside you? 1 John 4:4 declares, "You, dear children, are from God and have overcome them, because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world." They can mimic your actions, but they lack the power, the authenticity, and the divine fire that burns within you. How does it feel to know that they will never be able to replicate the strength God has uniquely given you? Just as Pharaoh's heart was hardened in the face of the Israelites' freedom, those around you tried to harden their hearts against your transformation. But in the end, just as God parted the Red Sea for His people, He made a way for you where there seemed to be no way. Isaiah 43:19 declares, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" What if this new thing that God is doing in your life is the very key to helping others see that their chains can be broken too? Chosen ones, how does it feel to know that your freedom has become the very thing that exposes their false control? What would it look like if you used your newfound freedom to show others that they too can break free from their own chains? And how will you walk in this divine liberty, knowing that your journey is part of God's greater plan to reveal His power and glory? John 8:32 reminds us, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." The truth you've embraced has set you free, and now your light shines as a beacon for others to follow. Chosen ones, the shock they felt wasn't just about your departure. It was about your transformation. They thought you would return to them, broken and apologetic, once you experienced the difficulty of standing alone. But instead, you flourished. You reclaimed your energy, your time, and your worth. You became untouchable, and in doing so, you revealed a truth they could no longer ignore. You were never theirs to control, to mold, or to exploit. You were always destined for more. Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." Can you feel the truth of this verse in your life? You were always meant for more, and your freedom is proof of God's divine plan for you. In your absence, their envy grew like a hidden wound, festering in the silence. They envy the peace you found, the clarity you've gained, and the confidence you radiate. Can you imagine how unsettling it must be for them to witness you living a life they never thought you'd be capable of? Psalm 37:1-3 says, "Do not fret because of those who are evil, or be envious of those who do wrong. For like the grass they will soon wither, like green plants they will soon die away. Trust in the Lord and do good, dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture." They replay their conversations with you over and over, dissecting every word, every decision, trying to understand what gave you the strength they lacked. Have you ever wondered why they can't just accept your growth and move on? For some, this envy becomes a mirror, forcing them to confront their own inadequacies. But for others, it morphs into something darker: bitterness, resentment, a desperate attempt to invalidate your progress, because acknowledging your success would mean they have to face their own failure. And yet, their opinions no longer matter. You've reclaimed the narrative. 2 Corinthians 5:17 reminds us, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here." You are not their lifeline, their scapegoat, or their project. You have become their reckoning. Can you feel the power in that realization? While they remain trapped in the same cycles of manipulation and dependency, you have risen far beyond their reach. They thought you would never leave. They believed you were somehow bound to them, but now they can't stop obsessing over the fact that you did. Isaiah 54:17 says, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." How must it feel for them to realize that the person they thought was theirs to control has broken free and flourished without them? Drop a comment. I broke the chains. The chains that once held you are now shattered, and your freedom is a declaration to the world, a thunderclap that resonates across the boundaries of control and expectation. Romans 8:21 declares that the creation itself will be liberated from its bondage to decay and brought into the freedom and glory of the children of God. Can you feel the power of your freedom echoing in your soul? You are not only free, but you are now the embodiment of liberation, showing others that it's possible to break free from the bonds that once suffocated them. Breaking free wasn't just about walking away from toxic relationships. It was about reclaiming every part of yourself they tried to diminish, to twist, to reshape into something they could control. Isaiah 61:1 declares, "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners." You severed the threads of manipulation, untangling years of subtle conditioning and expectations that had long suffocated your spirit. Every step you took away from them was an act of rebellion, a refusal to let anyone define your worth, your direction, or your identity. Did you realize that with each step you were rewriting your story? Romans 12:2 reminds us, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." You weren't just leaving a space. You were creating your own destiny, a destiny that no one could take from you. They never saw it coming because they underestimated the quiet storm within you. They banked on your compliance, your need for approval, and your desire to keep the peace. They thought they knew you better than you knew yourself. But the moment you chose yourself, the power dynamic shifted. Psalm 18:39 says, "You armed me with strength for battle. You humbled my adversaries before me." You stopped feeding the system they relied on to keep you small. And without your energy to fuel their agendas, their hold crumbled. Can you feel how their control weakened the moment you stopped giving it your power? Isaiah 10:27 reminds us, "In that day, his burden will be lifted from your shoulders, his yoke from your neck. The yoke will be broken because you have grown so fat." The moment you stopped feeding the system, the yoke that once held you captive was broken. Just as the Israelites, when they walked through the parted Red Sea, saw the chains of Egypt fall away, you too have experienced a similar kind of divine deliverance. Exodus 14:13-14 tells us, "Do not be afraid, stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again." The moment you decided to break free, you severed the chains that once held you in a place of bondage. Those who thought they could keep you forever are now left in the wake of your power. watching as you rise in ways they never imagined. How does it feel to know that your strength is a reminder to them of what they could never achieve? Philippians 4:13 says, "I can do all this through him who gives me strength." And what will you do with the freedom you've reclaimed? Will you continue to stand firm in your truth and show others that they too can walk away from the chains that bind them? John 8:32 reminds us, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Your strength, your courage, and your refusal to stay small have already made waves that can never be undone. Let them see your freedom, let them feel your peace, because in the end, you were always destined for more. You have broken free from the limitations that others have accepted as their reality. While they remain trapped within cycles they have grown comfortable with, bound by fear and complacency, you chose a different path. Have you ever wondered why it is that when you step out in faith, others feel threatened? In doing so, you force them to reconsider their beliefs about control, dependence, and the roles they once imposed upon you. Their envy manifests in subtle ways, through whispered words, attempts to minimize your achievements, and dismissals of your transformation. Isn't it curious how those who never believed in your potential are now watching with jealousy as you soar? They may try to mimic your journey, imitating your steps, but their efforts are shallow and ineffective because they lack the authenticity that powered your growth. The truth is, your freedom was not a mere consequence of chance. It was a conscious decision, a declaration to dismantle the identity they had once given you. What would have happened if they had seen your worth from the beginning? They cannot replicate what they do not understand, and that inability only deepens their frustration. Do they truly grasp the power behind your transformation, or are they simply trying to preserve their own fragile sense of control? Some may regret losing you, not because they truly valued you, but because they failed to recognize your worth. They took for granted that you would always remain in their lives, a presence they could manipulate to fit their needs. But in your absence, they are forced to confront the void you left behind, the energy you once gave freely. How many times have you felt like you were giving all of yourself, yet no one saw the value of it? Now they are left grappling with their own limitations, unable to fill the emptiness they created. Too late, they have come to realize that they were never the ones defining you. Isn't it a painful realization for them now that they were never in control? You were the glue that held things together, and now, without you, their worlds are beginning to unravel. They wove a complex web around you, each thread carefully designed to bind you tighter. They used manipulation and division, playing people against each other to sow doubt and confusion in your mind. The goal was to keep you uncertain, hesitant, and under their influence. But the Bible says in 2 Corinthians 3:17, "Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom." Your decision to break free from their control wasn't just a physical escape. It was a spiritual liberation that they could never understand. Have you ever felt the Spirit urging you to step out, even when the world around you doubted your path? In Galatians 5:1, it is written, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free." Stand firm, then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. The chains that once held you down no longer have power over you because Christ has already set you free. Through guilt and subtle emotional manipulation, they attempted to build chains that would seem too heavy to break. They whispered lies and half-truths, using subtle threats to keep you compliant, knowing that confusion would keep you tied to them. Why did they think their manipulation would work on you when you were already chosen to be set apart? And when these methods failed, they tried to create emotional dependency, feeding you the lie that without them you would be lost, unable to thrive on your own. But you, as God's chosen one, broke free from that lie, and their attempts to hold you back only serve to fuel your growth and transformation. Jesus said in John 8:36, "So, if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed." Isn't it powerful to know that your freedom is not only yours, but it is divinely ordained? Does it make you reflect on all the times others tried to keep you in their grasp, yet God had already declared you free? Doesn't it make you wonder, what would have happened if they had truly seen your worth? If they had recognized the strength within you before it was too late? Your journey is proof that you are not defined by the limitations others place on you. Instead, you are the one shaping your own destiny. As you continue to move forward, how much more will they witness the true power of God working through you? As Philippians 4:13 reminds us, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." With God's guidance, you are unstoppable. Every tactic they employed was deliberate, meticulously designed to bind you to their control. Do you remember how, at first, their actions seemed so subtle, so skillfully crafted that it was hard to see through them? But you did see through it, didn't you? Slowly, steadily, the truth began to unfold before you like a hidden treasure, revealing their manipulation. You noticed how they thrived on your hesitation, how every time you compromised your values, they grew stronger in their hold over you. And as you began to recognize these patterns, didn't it feel like the fog finally lifted? You saw the triangulation that kept you isolated, the guilt that silenced your voice, the dependency that drained your energy. It was a cruel game they played, and the stakes were your freedom. Then you did the unthinkable. You chose yourself. Choosing yourself wasn't just an act of defiance, it was an act of liberation. Have you ever thought about how that moment of choice altered the course of your life? It wasn't easy. Walking away from their web meant facing their anger, their tears, their desperate attempts to pull you back into their control. But it also meant reclaiming your life, your power, and your identity, the very things they tried to strip away from you. The Bible reminds us in Galatians 5:1, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." You chose freedom, even when it seemed impossible. You didn't just untangle the threads they had woven around you, you set fire to the entire web. You silenced the guilt they instilled in you, dismantled the manipulation they used to keep you bound, and refused to play the role they had scripted for you. Did you feel the weight lifting as you burned those bridges? They hated it. They hated that their tricks no longer worked, that the false narratives they had carefully constructed to control your life began to collapse in your absence. They called you selfish, cold, heartless, labels designed to pull you back into their game. But have you ever wondered why their words no longer affect you? The truth is, their anger wasn't really about you. It was about their loss of control. They couldn't fathom how you found the strength to leave when they had spent years convincing you that you were powerless. How did you manage to rise above their efforts to drown your spirit? The Bible speaks to this in Isaiah 41:10. "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." God had already been preparing you for this moment, a moment of ultimate strength, to choose yourself over the lies they told you. By choosing yourself, you did more than escape their manipulation. You exposed it. Did you ever think your freedom would shine such a light on their darkness? You forced them to confront the truth they worked so hard to hide, that their power was never real. It was borrowed, stolen, taken from you. And now that it's gone, they are left to face themselves, their games, and their own emptiness. Isn't it strange how, in your absence, they are forced to look inward, seeing the lies they told themselves and the damage they did? Meanwhile, you move forward, untangled, unstoppable, and free. Your freedom strikes them like lightning, illuminating every shadow they tried to hide behind. Doesn't it feel like a powerful victory every time you step further into your purpose? Your independence isn't just a statement, it's a mirror, unflinching and merciless, forcing them to confront truths they've long buried. They see in you the strength they lack, the courage they abandoned, and the authenticity they could never reach. Every move you make, every boundary you set, and every success you achieve only magnifies their own limitations. Have you noticed how your growth seems to rattle their foundation, shaking the false sense of control they once held over you? Your light doesn't just shine, it exposes. They worked so hard to convince you and themselves that you needed them. Their attempts to hold you back were never truly about your flaws. They were about their insecurities. Your growth disrupts their carefully curated sense of superiority. Isn't it unsettling to them now to see you thriving, untethered, and unapologetic? It unsettles them because it proves what they've denied for so long, that their control was never your anchor, it was your cage. And now, as you walk in your divine freedom, what can they say? Their web is destroyed, their influence shattered, and you are free to be everything God has created you to be. When you stepped away, they were forced to face their own reflection, a reflection distorted by their unfulfilled potential and unresolved fears. Do you remember the moment you realized that your departure would bring them face to face with their own truth? They noticed the gaps in their lives, the empty spaces where fear held them back, and in these moments they resent you. They resent you not for what you've done, but because you've made them confront the voids they've spent years avoiding. Isn't it strange how your strength can be seen as an accusation, as if your very existence points to everything they could have become but chose not to? Their discomfort isn't about you. It's about the parts of themselves they've neglected for far too long. For all their bitterness, they can't look away. Your freedom captivates them, challenges everything they thought they knew. Have you ever felt their eyes on you, watching as you rise while they remain trapped in their own self-made prisons? Your transformation is a living testament to the choices they never made. They feel the weight of their excuses in the face of your courage and growth. They try to dismiss you, to downplay your achievements, but their attempts fall flat because the truth is undeniable. You rose while they stayed stagnant. The Bible, in Philippians 3:13-14, says, "Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead, I press on toward the goal, to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus." You are pressing on toward your divine calling, leaving behind the past, and they are left to wrestle with what they could have achieved if they had dared to take that step forward. They've spent so long crafting illusions of strength, wearing masks that hid their insecurities. Now your authenticity exposes these illusions, forcing them to confront their own deceit. How does it feel to see your own truth make their pretenses crumble? Some may attempt to mimic you, imitating the outward markers of your freedom, but they fail. Their imitation is hollow because they lack the internal foundation you've built. They don't understand that your strength wasn't born from rebellion alone, but from the clarity of self-awareness, the refusal to compromise your soul. Do they truly grasp that your freedom came at a price they are unwilling to pay? They try to replicate your path, but without doing the necessary inner work, their efforts crumble under the weight of their inauthenticity. For others, your freedom triggers deep shame, though they rarely admit it. Have you ever noticed how your independence makes them uncomfortable in ways they can't quite put into words? They see in you the person they could have been, if only they had chosen differently, if only they had faced their fears. Your independence forces them to reckon with every opportunity they ignored, every fear that dictated their choices, and every dream they left behind. But it's not your responsibility to heal their wounds or carry their regret. Isn't it freeing to know that your only task is to move forward, unshaken and unbothered? Your success is a mirror they can't escape, and the reflection it offers will either break them or push them to change. What will it take for them to stop running from the truth? Either way, your growth stands as proof that greatness was never a privilege, it was a choice. As the Bible says in Romans 8:28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Your journey is not just a testimony of your strength, it's a demonstration of God's faithfulness and purpose in your life. If your rise forces them to reckon with themselves, let them deal with their discomfort. How much longer will they keep resisting the truth? It's not yours to carry. Keep rising. Keep reflecting. Your light shines as a beacon for others to find their way, but it's up to them whether they will embrace it or remain in the darkness. When you walked away, it wasn't just an act of defiance. It was the spark that ignited a profound transformation within you. Have you ever realized that sometimes walking away isn't about rejecting others, but embracing your own path? In severing the ties that drained your spirit and kept you bound, you created a space for your true self to emerge. Leaving wasn't a moment of weakness. It was the beginning of an awakening. The clarity you now possess didn't come from outside validation, but from the silence that filled the void once occupied by manipulation, guilt, and dependency. Isn't it amazing how silence can sometimes speak louder than words? In that silence, you heard your own voice for the first time, raw, unfiltered, and free from the noise that had previously drowned it out. How often have you tried to hear your inner voice, only to be drowned by the expectations and demands of others? But now, in this quiet space, you began to hear the true calling of your spirit, guiding you toward the life you were always meant to live. Your spiritual growth didn't come from seeking approval, but from rejecting the need for it. By choosing to break free, you dismantled every narrative that told you to stay small, to conform, or to carry the heavy burden of others' expectations. Doesn't it feel powerful to finally reject the narratives that once bound you? In breaking free, you took the most courageous step toward reclaiming your identity. The Bible says in Romans 12:2, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Your mind was renewed, and with that renewal, you cast aside the pressures that once held you back. You embraced the clarity that came with choosing yourself. And in doing so, you dismantled the lies that had kept you from seeing your true worth. What followed was a peace that felt almost foreign, a stillness that allowed you to see yourself without distortion. Can you remember the first moment you felt that deep peace, that knowing that you were exactly where you were meant to be? In that stillness, you uncovered your power, your worth, and the boundless potential they had tried to suppress. Isn't it remarkable how stepping away from chaos allows you to rediscover your true self? You began to see the truth about who you are, free from the lens of their expectations. And with that clarity came a sense of empowerment that is impossible to ignore. But your escape didn't just transform you, it sent ripples through the lives of those around you. Have you noticed how your freedom causes others to question their own chains, their own limitations? They see your liberation and they feel its weight. Some begin to question their own patterns, their own cages, because your freedom proves that leaving is not only possible, but necessary for growth. Others, however, feel threatened, unsettled by the mirror your growth holds to their stagnation. What do you think it is about your transformation that causes such discomfort in them? Whether they resist or reflect, your decision has become a force they cannot ignore. In the Bible, Jesus tells us in Matthew 10:34-36, Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Your decision to choose yourself may have caused divisions, but it is the sword of truth that forces people to confront what they've been avoiding. Your transformation, though unsettling to others, is the very catalyst they need to face their own fears. Whether they resist or reflect, your growth has become a powerful force, one that will continue to challenge, inspire, and awaken others. Even if they don't yet understand it, your freedom is not just a personal triumph. It's a beacon of possibility for anyone willing to break free from their own chains. What is it that has made you unstoppable? And how can your journey continue to inspire others to find their own liberation? Envy isn't just a fleeting emotion. It's a force, a powerful reflection of someone's internal conflict. Have you ever realized that when others envy you, it's not just about your achievements, but everything about their own unaddressed pain? When they look at you, free and untouchable, they don't just see your success, they see everything they are not. How does it feel knowing that your very freedom shines a light on their deepest insecurities? Your liberation highlights their stagnation, your authenticity exposes their facades, and your courage mocks their fear. Isn't it striking how your very presence challenges their comfort zone, making them confront the very things they've avoided within themselves? Envy festers in their minds because your story is the reminder they cannot escape. What do you think it is about your story that unsettles them so deeply? They had the same opportunities to rise, but they chose comfort over growth, control over truth, and illusions over freedom. They stayed within the boundaries of their own self-imposed limitations, afraid to take the risk of stepping into the unknown. And now, your success serves as a constant reminder of the path they didn't take. How many times have you seen others try to imitate your life, only to find themselves falling short? They try to mimic your path, thinking that duplicating your external actions will yield the same results. But they fail to understand that true transformation isn't about imitating actions. It's about a deep inner change, a shedding of false identities. They adopt the language of independence, the postures of confidence, but it never lands. Isn't it frustrating to see them try so hard to appear as if they've evolved when the foundation beneath their efforts is so fragile? Their attempts fall flat because they are rooted in imitation, not transformation. They don't realize that your growth didn't come from playing a role. It came from tearing down every false identity that was imposed on you. Can you imagine how hard it must be for them to witness you thriving while they are stuck in their illusions? They want the rewards without the sacrifice, the freedom without the fire, and it burns them to see you thriving in ways they cannot replicate. Their envy drives them to undermine you, to claw at the foundation of your progress. Have you noticed how they try to chip away at your achievements, as if by questioning your success, they can make their own stagnation feel less significant? They spread doubts, questioning your motives, your authenticity, your success. Isn't it ironic how their insecurity leads them to try to invalidate your truth? They attempt to rewrite your narrative, casting themselves as victims of your ascent, or framing your rise as a fluke. Their words and actions are desperate attempts to tether you back to their level, to reassert the power they lost when you broke free. What do you think drives them to continue these efforts, even when they know deep down that your growth is real and unshakable? But their envy is also a teacher, a reminder to stay vigilant. How do you use their envy to fuel your own inner strength? It reminds you that not everyone who watches your rise is celebrating it. Some study your every move, not to understand you, but to find weakness. They wait for cracks, hoping for a moment to strike, to discredit, to drag you back into the pit they've made for themselves. Doesn't it make you stronger to know that your rise is causing such discomfort, and that it proves your path is a divine one? You must protect your energy, your boundaries, and your truth with the same intensity that carried you out of their reach in the first place. Remember the words of Proverbs 4:23. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Protect your energy and your peace from the poison of their envy. How much more powerful is your purpose when you walk in the knowledge that their attempts to tear you down are simply reflections of their own fears? Keep rising, unshaken, and let your success be the proof that your authenticity is unstoppable. Their attempts to undermine you will fail, not because they lack effort, but because they lack authenticity. Have you ever noticed how their words and actions, though persistent, fall flat when they try to attack something that's genuine? They cannot destroy what was built from the deepest parts of your soul. What is it about your core strength that makes them tremble so much? Your freedom is a force of nature, unyielding and unapologetic. Let their envy fuel your resolve, a reminder of the distance you've traveled and the strength you've cultivated. You owe them no explanations, no justifications. Why do they demand answers when your success is the answer itself? Their envy is theirs to bear, a reflection of their own choices and limitations, not a reflection of your journey. Stay vigilant, but stay unbothered. They cannot replicate what they don't understand, and they cannot touch what they fear. Have you realized that your rise exposes their lack of growth, and that's why it rattles them? Your rise is proof that their control was never real, and now neither is their relevance. Doesn't it feel freeing to know that you are the one who holds the power, not them? Let their envy be the shadow to your light, always chasing but never catching. Keep rising, keep shining. They can only watch, powerless in the face of your unstoppable progress. Walking away comes with a weight that few can understand until they've carried it. Can you feel the weight of what you left behind, not as a burden, but as a release? You didn't just leave behind people. You left behind the pieces of yourself you had given to them. Your loyalty, your love, your energy. It wasn't easy. The bonds you severed weren't superficial. They were forged through shared history, moments of trust and vulnerability. How painful was it to realize that in giving so much, you were losing yourself? But those bonds also became chains, and leaving meant breaking them, even as the shards cut into your heart. Isn't it true that the hardest things to let go of are the ones we thought defined us? Nostalgia has a way of whispering lies. It tries to pull you back with memories of better times, moments of laughter, and fleeting connections that felt genuine. Do you find it difficult to resist the pull of memories that make you question your decision? Guilt creeps in, questioning your choice, making you wonder if you were too harsh, too selfish, or too unyielding. But you know the truth. Staying would have meant sacrificing yourself to keep those moments alive, clinging to fragments while your spirit crumbled under the weight of their demands. Have you ever wondered what would have happened to you if you hadn't walked away? The pain is real, but so is the clarity that comes with it. Walking away wasn't about abandoning them. It was about choosing yourself. It meant accepting that some connections were draining your light, suffocating your growth, and keeping you small. Have you noticed how some people's energy weighs you down, no matter how much you give to them? The sacrifices you made were not losses, they were exchanges. You gave up the familiar to gain the infinite. You let go of their expectations to embrace your freedom. Isn't it incredible to realize that the things you thought were holding you together were actually holding you back? Liberation always demands a price. You paid it with your tears, your longing, your doubts, but the reward was yourself, unbound and unstoppable. As the Bible says in John 8:36, "So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed." Your freedom is not just an outward change, it's an inner transformation that has made you unstoppable. What do you think will happen as you continue to walk in your newfound freedom? They may try to pull you back, but you are no longer who you were, and for that, they can never touch you again. You walk alone, not because you have to, but because you choose to. Have you ever realized that your solitude is not a punishment but a deliberate choice, one that strengthens your spirit? The path of the lone wolf is not one of isolation. It is one of mastery. Solitude sharpens you, teaching you the lessons that the noise of the crowd drowns out. In the stillness, you've learned to listen to your own instincts, to trust your inner voice, and to rely on your strength. Doesn't it feel powerful to finally hear yourself above all the external noise, and to know that your confidence is rooted in God's guidance? There's a unique power in moving through the world untethered, unbound by the expectations of others. Your independence isn't a retreat. It's a declaration that your freedom is non-negotiable. The lone wolf is feared, not because they are alone, but because they are whole. What does it say about you that your solitude makes others uneasy, when all you've done is embrace your truth, as God has intended? As it is written in Romans 8:31, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" You've become someone who doesn't need anyone else's validation to be complete. They may try to label you as isolated, but in truth, your wholeness scares them because it forces them to question their own incomplete selves. Others see your solitude and mistake it for loneliness, yet they cannot deny the power you exude. Do they realize that your strength is born from within, not from anything they can give you? They don't understand that your choice to walk alone is rooted in self-respect, in refusing to accept less than what aligns with your truth. How do you feel knowing that your strength is something others can only admire but never fully comprehend? Your freedom unsettles them because it challenges their reliance on external validation, exposing the hollow spaces where their own strength should reside. What does it mean for them that your independence reveals the emptiness they've been trying to ignore? In 2 Corinthians 12:9, Paul says, "But he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me.'" Your strength, found in God's grace, is a power they will never fully understand. And yet, your presence fascinates. Have you noticed how they watch you, curious about how someone can thrive without needing their approval? They are drawn to the mystique of someone who exists beyond their grasp, someone who doesn't bend to the weight of expectations. They wonder how you find peace in your silence, how you grow stronger without the need for anyone's affirmation. It's simple. Your solitude is not emptiness, it's sovereignty. Isn't it extraordinary how your peace in solitude makes others question their own inability to find such peace? Psalm 23:1 tells us, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." In your quiet, you have found everything you need: peace, purpose, and God's presence. Drop a howl, I thrive alone. If your power grows in the quiet places others fear to tread, let them wonder. Doesn't it make you smile knowing that they'll never truly understand the depth of your inner strength, which is anchored in God? You've already proven that the lone wolf fears nothing, not even themselves. What do you think it says about you that you've embraced the freedom to stand alone, fully aware of the power it brings? Your absence is more powerful than your presence ever was, forcing those you left behind to confront the void you once filled. As the Bible says in Psalm 46:10, "Be still and know that I am God." In your stillness, you've found the strength that others fear to acknowledge within themselves. How much more will your rise inspire those who are still trapped by the noise and the crowd? Keep walking your path, The lone wolf's journey is one of true freedom, found in the peace that God grants to those who trust in Him. They see the spaces you once occupied, your energy, your loyalty, your efforts, and are now left to face the truth of how they mishandled it. Have you ever thought about how their recognition of this truth comes too late to change the impact of your absence? For some, regret takes root. They replay their decisions, every word spoken, every action taken, and realize too late what they've lost. Their guilt becomes a heavy burden, one they cannot escape, constantly reminding them of their failure to value you when they had the chance. As Proverbs 28:13 says, "Whoever conceals their sins does not prosper, but the one who confesses and renounces them finds mercy." Their inability to confront their mistakes only deepens their sorrow. But not all reflections lead to growth. For others, bitterness rises to the surface, acting as a shield against the shame of their own shortcomings. Isn't it telling how so many choose to stay in denial rather than face the truth of their actions? They double down on their narratives, casting you as the villain to justify their behavior. They cling to the idea that your departure was the problem, refusing to acknowledge the cycles of manipulation, neglect, or envy they perpetuated. What does it reveal about their character that they would rather hold on to their false narrative than acknowledge the role they played in your decision? Their denial doesn't change the truth. It only traps them in the very stagnation you escaped. How often do we see people hold on to their own limitations out of fear of confronting their own flaws? Your growth is a ripple that touches everything. They see you thriving and are forced to reckon with the fact that their presence wasn't essential to your success. Isn't it powerful to know that your success doesn't need their validation? Some will quietly try to imitate your steps, hoping to taste the freedom you've claimed, while others will stew in resentment, unable to admit they were the architects of their own limitations. Isn't it fascinating how, despite their resentment, they can't help but be drawn to the freedom you embody? Either way, your transformation exposes them, holding up a mirror they cannot turn away from. What do you think it says about you that your growth has become a reflection of their own stagnation? Their reactions are irrelevant. Your growth speaks for itself. How much clearer does your journey become when you realize that their opinions no longer shape your path? You're not just the one who got away. You're the one who ascended, defying every limit they tried to impose. You didn't leave quietly. You left boldly, carving a path that shook the foundations of their control. They underestimated your strength, dismissed your resilience, and failed to see the fire that was building within you. Did they ever think your fire would be extinguished? Now, as you stand in your power, you are more than a memory. You are a force they cannot ignore. How much stronger does your voice echo now that you are no longer confined by their expectations? As Philippians 4:13 reminds us, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Your journey is a testament not to their limitations, but to the strength God has instilled in you. What could be more powerful than knowing that your growth, fueled by faith, is unstoppable by anyone or anything? Your success is not a reflection of what they expected, but of God's purpose for your life. Your freedom is more than your own. It is a message to anyone still bound by expectations, manipulation, or fear. Have you realized that by choosing yourself, you've become a beacon for others seeking liberation? By walking away from what no longer serves you, you've shown that liberation is not only possible, but absolutely necessary. How powerful is it to know that your journey of freedom could be the spark someone else needs to break free? You've become a living testament to the unyielding spirit, a living example of what it means to refuse anything that doesn't align with your truth. As it says in John 8:36, "So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed." Your freedom is a declaration that with God's strength, anything is possible. Your light disrupts, inspires, and demands acknowledgement, even from those who would rather deny your transformation. Isn't it incredible how your growth forces others to confront their own limitations, even when they would rather avoid it? You have become impossible to ignore. The more you shine, the more they are forced to face their own unresolved fears and unfulfilled potential. How does it feel knowing that your transformation is a catalyst for change, even for those who resist it? Keep moving forward, unapologetically free, unbound, and unshaken. Isn't there a sense of strength that arises when you realize that nothing can stop your momentum, no matter how hard they try? Let the whispers of doubt, envy, or regret fade into irrelevance as you continue to rise. As Romans 8:31 says, if God is for us, who can be against us? They can watch, they can wonder, but they cannot stop the momentum you've built. Your foundation is unshakable because it's rooted in your truth and God's purpose for you. What do you think it means that no one can halt the progress you've made, especially when God is at the center of your journey? Your story matters. Have you ever stopped to reflect on how your experiences, your struggles and victories are meant to empower others? Share your truth, your struggles and your victories. Your words will inspire others who need the reminder that freedom is within reach. Who else might be waiting for a sign, and your story could be that very sign? Let them hear your voice, see your strength, and know that the path you've walked is not only yours, it's a call for others to awaken. How much more powerful is it when you realize that your voice carries the strength to ignite change in others? Keep shining, lone wolf. Isn't it empowering to know that the world is better because of your light? The world needs your light. As Matthew 5:14-16 says, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Your light is meant to shine, not just for your own benefit, but to illuminate the path for others to follow. Keep walking in your truth, and let your journey inspire those who are ready to awaken. As we wrap up today's message, remember that your journey of freedom and divine protection is a testament to the power and grace that God has bestowed upon you. Those around you, lovers, family, and friends, might feel envy because they cannot comprehend the strength and peace that you carry. But hold on to this truth. Your freedom is not just a blessing to you, but a light to others, showing them what it means to live in God's purpose and power. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to support this channel by donating through Super Thanks. Your generosity helps spread the word of God's love and truth to more people. And whether you choose to donate or not, I am incredibly grateful for each and every one of you who watches, likes, comments, and shares these videos. Your engagement means the world to me, and I pray that God's blessings continue to pour over you in abundance. May you walk in the fullness of your divine calling with peace, joy, and prosperity. Please like, subscribe, and share this message with those who need it. Also, leave a comment below. Let me know how this word has impacted your life today. May God bless you richly.